This is Speaking with the Enemy on the Ticats Audio Network. Here is Louie Butko.
Yes, the show is Speaking with the Enemy. The Enemy this week, oh, you already know it. It's the Labor Day Classic. It's the Toronto Argonauts. And to discuss that, we bring in my friend Mike Hogan. Hoagie, happy Labor Day to you. Come on, man. We can have some fun. I know what the show is called. I know it's Labor Day. We're supposed to hate each other this week. I just can't do it.
I never liked you. I never liked anything about you. You're dead to me.
That's better.
I hope we beat you by 120.
Well, let's get right into the game. I mean, the Argos didn't have a lot of success at Tim Hortons Field. They've really changed that storyline because they just couldn't win on Labor Day, and really this game means a lot for the Ticats as much as it does for the Argos, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was tough. What was it, 8 out of 9 at Tim Hortons Field before last year, and got that King Kong-sized monkey off the back. And I still think it's Labor Day. I have no idea what the hell's going to happen. If I have, from an Argo perspective, I have two concerns. One, the team shows up flat like it did in Calgary. I don't think that can happen on a Labor Day, much like I don't think it's possible for the Ticats to show up flat on a Labor Day. The other thing that concerns me is the Ticats get out to a 2-score lead early. If it works the other way, I don't know if you agree with me on this. I did this in our keys to the game. I don't think the Ticats are built to play from behind. I think they're built to play from ahead, whereas the Argos can score in bunches. So if they're down 14, it doesn't really matter because it's how are they going to get to 31 points, and when? Is that a fair assessment, or is just because Butler and Tim White are the two guys that scare me the most from a Ticat perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I go back to that first game, when the Argos came to Tim Hortons Field. That game was never in doubt, right? I mean, it was a bit slower, but the Argos did kind of what we expected them to do. They went up big in that second quarter and really never. They might have taken their foot off the gas, but that win was never in doubt. And I think if that team shows up, the Ticats are going to be in trouble. But I think the Ticats are a much different team. I think there's confidence in Taylor Powell. Scott Milanovich, who you know very well, is getting his hands all over this offense a little bit more than that first week. So this week of practice has been huge, I would think, for the Ticats. And I'm talking to my buddy Braden Neville, host of Ticats Today, about that later. But I mean, you and I have been around. It doesn't matter if the Argos were 0-11 coming into this game, that 0-8 year. The Ticat, how much is that talked about? Just the fact that just how big this game is from a history standpoint. I mean, the Ticats talk a lot about standing on the shoulders of those who came before them. Is it reflected the same way as the Argonauts in the room when it comes to this rivalry?
I think what the coaching staff will do is mention it to the new guys who aren't aware of the Labor Day rivalries across the country. A lot of these guys have been a part of a couple now. With the crossover with the Stampeders and the Argos, they've seen at least a couple of these rivalries, so they get it. They know what Tim Hortons is like. There are folks who can get to one game a year. They're going to make sure it's this one from a Ticat fan perspective. And there's nothing more that Ticat fans in Hamilton want to do is send the Argos down the QEW disappointed, especially when the standings are like they are right now. From a Hamilton perspective, it's not only a huge 2 points with Ottawa, right there with them, and Montreal now within grasp if they can get a couple of things going. And if on Saturday night Montreal happens to lose to BC, that adds a little fire to both teams heading into Monday. Whereas from an Argo perspective, it's a chance to really almost officially put Hamilton in the rearview mirror, because it would not only move them up 2, it would be 2 points that Hamilton can't get, and it would win the tiebreaker. So, we've all heard about the 4-point game. This is a 5-point game if the Argos can win it, because then the tiebreaker, is in the Argos' possession. So I think that historically, this team has been very adamant about not looking ahead in the schedule. 1-0 is not just a thing. The goal is 1-0, and that's all they talk about. Nobody is thinking a week ahead, to the Montreal game. Everybody's focused on this one. And I think that there are enough veterans on this team, and the coaching staff is adamant enough that they're not going to lose sight. And all I have to do is say, look what happened in Calgary when we weren't focused. We went out and got our asses kicked. And that's the last thing they want to happen on Monday.
8-1, first place in the East, by a lot. Defending Grey Cup champions. How is this team? I mean, it doesn't seem like they're running up against too many challenges right now. How are they staying motivated to be as good, to play football as well as they've been playing? I mean, it's just come to be. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to seeing this, right? Yeah. The Argos being as dominant as they are, but how are they keeping this momentum going on and off the field?
I think that it's an incredibly business-like team. They show up. It's when Mike Clemens wanted to put this team together with Dinwiddie and Magri and Murphy and everybody involved, Alex Russell. They wanted to get guys who would just play, guys who are dedicated, guys who aren't going to be goofballs off the field. There's been a weeding out process, and then what they have now are consummate professionals who show up, they work hard at practice, and I think there's peer pressure to excel, and there's also pressure because there's so much depth on this team. Nobody's guaranteed of starting every week. Look in the secondary. Peters has been a healthy scratch. McFadden has been a healthy scratch on multiple occasions. I assume, McFadden's going to get back into the lineup with the injury to Amos. I don't know how the back end is going to, what it's going to look like on Monday, but they've got depth at basically every position. So if you're not going to perform, there's a guy behind you waiting to take your job, and there are some pretty good players on the one-game injured list and on the practice roster.
We were supposed to do the show yesterday, so our apologies to my program director, Dave Cadeau, who was expecting the show on Thursday.
Never apologize to Cadeau. Never, ever apologize to Cadeau. Ever.
All right, I take that back then. Good. Okay. But there was some pretty big news happening in Argo land yesterday. Classic Pinball Clemens trying to steal the headlines on Labor Day Classic week. A big contract for Chad Kelly, 3-year deal. Just, your initial thoughts when you had heard that this deal was going to be signed, and what it means to the Argos to lock him up long term.
It was 2 or 3 weeks ago that I was tipped off that this was not imminent, but was close. So it gave us, on the communication side, chance to get some stuff ready for the release and to plan the announcement. So when it came, it wasn't a surprise. I was honestly elated when I heard the news for the first time that it was going to be a multi-year deal. That one of my biggest fears was, with all of the momentum that we've been building up Toronto, both on and off the field, that a guy with Chad Kelly's ability and Chad Kelly's charisma and personality, and he's become we'll use the term swagger. Fans are really attracted to this dude. We've got some players right now in Toronto that fans really like. AJ Ouellette is a real fan favorite. Curly Gittens Jr. is a real fan favorite. So to be able to keep a guy like Kelly, who, is the straw that's stirring the drink right now, that's huge. If the Argos were 8-1 right now and winning games 12-9, I don't think you'd see the same level of excitement. But they're averaging 40 points a game at home. That's crazy. People are coming out to BMO Field having a blast. They're hearing the cannon go off a lot. And you know what it's like when the Ticats are playing well and scoring a bunch of points, people go home early and they can't wait to get back to Tim Hortons Field. You saw that with back-to-back, runs to the Grey Cup, and Speedy B being as dynamic as any player in the league. We're going through that right now in Toronto and trying to capitalize on that. And the fact that Chad Kelly's committed to this city and to this team and to this organization and these fans, that's huge.
Steve Simmons had a great piece about it in the Sun today. I read it online, but talking about just a homegrown quarterback that the Argos can call their own. How important is that when it comes to the marketability of locking this guy up long term? He's a fresh face in the league that will likely always be remembered wearing an Argos jersey. He's got that Grey Cup already, but how important is that in Argonaut land?
I think it's great for the league that he's homegrown. For the team, I don't think it matters. If Doug Flutie came over and signed a 5-year deal after playing in Calgary, nobody cared. Nobody cared that Matt Dunnigan came from 19 other teams before he got to Toronto, or Damon Allen likewise, or Ricky Ray. Like, ooh, Ricky Ray played in Edmonton. Nobody's going to go and see him because he's not homegrown. But I just think the fact that and Bo Levi Mitchell, like, I know it hasn't worked out, but when he signed, did fans care that he had played 1,000 years in Calgary? No, they were happy to see him in black and gold. Um, the fact that Chad Kelly is a fresh face, a new talent in the CFL, 5 years older or whatever than Nathan Rourke, but unless your team was playing BC last year, who the hell didn't like to watch Nathan Rourke play football? And I know maybe it's different in Hamilton because of the rivalry, but if you're out in Saskatchewan right now and Chad Kelly's not playing the Riders, don't you love watching him play? I mean, he's just brought a level of excitement to the league, and I think that's fantastic. And whether or not he started his career in Hamilton and came over a year later, I don't think people care. Much like if Chad Kelly signed next year with the Ticats, they wouldn't care that he was in Toronto. It would add to the storyline, obviously, but the fact that he's homegrown,
Yeah.
I don't think it matters.
I mean, we've been talking about this, and you've touched on it a little bit, just the fun people are having. I mean, as long as you and I have been doing this show, I think this is about 3 years, we've been talking about the work that's been going on at the offices to get people in. Now that you're starting to see it with the results on the field, what does it mean to you to see, I don't want to say life back at Argonauts fan, or like at BMO Field, because I don't think that's fair, but to see that excitement build and what it was and where it is and where it could be for you. I mean, you have to be looking at this licking your chops a little bit.
Well, I've been a fan of the CFL as long as I can remember, right? To show how old I am, the first game I remember watching was the '71 Grey Cup. Argos lose on the Leon McQuaid fumble. And the fact that I hosted a talk show in Toronto for 25 years at two different stations and would talk CFL and found it difficult to get any kind of traction in the Toronto market was difficult. To go on shows like yours and ones across the country and other markets and invariably be asked about the attendance gets very frustrating. And it was like, okay, I've done this every freaking interview. I want to stop doing it. And the fact that now we see some momentum in the other direction. I think I know there's a CFL attendance site that compares attendance. If you take the two Atlantic Canada games out of the equation, I think our attendance is up over 30% from a year ago, which was up from the year before. We still have a hell of a long way to go, but seeing an average of 15 or 16,000, whatever it is this year, is a lot better than seeing 12 or seeing those games where there's 9. And I can't wait to be working for the Argos when we look at a crowd like the last one where we had 18,000 and saying, what the hell did we do wrong? Why did we only have 18,000 there? I wait for the day that we sell out the lower bowl for an exhibition, for a non-playoff game, for a regular season game. I long for the fact when we sell out the entire building instead of getting 21 or 22,000 for a playoff game. And we're on the right direction. And part of that hard work is working with youth football. That's the target. I get sick when people say MLSC and the Argos don't market. We're not blanket marketing the market. We're going right after the people who have an interest in the sport to begin with. They're playing it. And we've got to get younger people in the stands at BMO Field, much like every CFL team has to do. They've got to get that generation that was maybe skipped, that became NFL fans only. And we've got to show them how much fun the Canadian Football League is in Toronto, in Hamilton, in Ottawa, in Montreal, in BC, the non-traditional big ones. I hate seeing Calgary go through what they're going through right now. I hate seeing Edmonton going through what they're going through right now because I've been there. I hate Ottawa seeing the decrease because I was in Ottawa when things started to go bad. I want every team to play well enough and exciting enough that even when the team loses, people are intrigued enough to go back and have a good enough time to go back. The fact that we're doing it right now and a hell of a lot of hard work is starting to pay off, sign me up. But we're not even close to where we want to be.
It's all really well said there, Hoagie. And I know personally the work that you guys are doing and the variety of fans, especially in a city like Toronto, the different types of fans that you're introducing to Canadian football, and then making sure they come back. It definitely helps when they win, and it's a lot more fun. And the Argos have been doing lots of that at 8-1. To go to 9-1, what are they going to have to do on Monday? What's going to be the key for the Argos to escape Tim Hortons Field with a win?
First of all, keep playing offensively like they've been playing. You don't need one or two guys to dominate. You know, before every game, Ben Grant on the broadcast and I spin the wheel of receivers and try to predict who's going to be the guy that week, because it's been a different guy every week. It can be Coxie one game. It can be Daniels one game. It can be Gittins. We've seen David Ungerer and Dejan Brissett both take turns. Cam Phillips has been big a couple of games. Like, it's everybody. So they're going to look for a matchup and exploit it. Don't try to force feed it. The obvious one, hang on to the football. The football is your friend. As I say, don't let Hamilton get out to a 2-score lead. I think that doesn't affect the Argos as much as it might affect the Ticats. Don't give them that added boost. And just be aware of Jeff Reinbold. He's one of my favorite guys in the league. I love watching what he does, but damn it, I hate playing against him. He's evil. He's an incredibly smart coach. He's a joy to watch because he's like Mike O'Shea. He just knows the ins and outs. He knows the rule book inside and out, and isn't afraid to try something silly, and it usually works. So as well as the Argo special teams have played with Javon Leake, 4 punt return touchdowns already. For a guy who's never returned punts until last year, he was a kick returner only in college. I still fear something that Reinbold's going to do, just because that's who he is.
Yeah, exactly. You and I know him well enough to expect the unexpected when it comes to special teams. Jeff Reinbold's coaching. Hoagie, appreciate this as always. Looking forward to seeing you down at Tim Hortons Field on Monday, which should be beautiful weather and a beautiful football game. And one of us will be going home upset, most likely.
We're bringing the Harold Ballard Trophy with us.
Ooh.
And we hope to raise it after the game.
That's a little presumptuous,
We're bringing it just in case.
Just in case. All right, well, we'll see you down there with that big hunk of metal that the Ticats are hoping to get back. But thanks for doing this, Hoagie. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, pal. You know that.
Remember, you can catch a brand new episode of Speaking with the Enemy as part of Tiger Cat pregame, which begins at 2 o'clock on Monday, getting you set for the Labor Day Classic. And are you going to the Labor Day Classic? Well, Eric Harris will be the alumnus of distinction and honor just before kickoff. Gates open at 2 o'clock. Get your tickets at ticats.ca/tickets. If you're going down there on Monday, look for me. Would love to say hi to you at Tim Hortons Field. We will see you then and there. In the meantime, from all of us here at the Ticats Audio Network, I'm Louie Butko. Hoping you have a great day.